evening testimony tonight. My name is Grant Swanson. I'm glad I was able to come down to in addition to working at the library, I'm the vice president of the county, and I'm a current board member of R2D2. And what I'm so excited about with this move on this bridge is the possibility of creating more rest areas and more locations throughout the city and throughout the community. And I've heard from a lot of people that this isn't a permanent solution, and I agree, it's not. People need homes, need a stable environment, but in different communities throughout the city, I've worked at Rockwood Library, I've worked in other parts of the city where there are some services, and everywhere I go, there are communities. And this model that was kind of tried in other communities for a while and then brought down here is a really good, really viable model. And as you've heard from many people tonight, it has worked for them and has got them up into a stable place where they can prosper and get on to the next stage in life. And even when there are people who are able to get out of this, there are always people falling back into it. We spoke of the federal employees that are out of work. Likely, most of them will go back to their jobs. They'll likely get reinstated pay, but they might not. And as the wages of jobs in the U.S. keep getting driven down lower and lower, there's going to be more and more need for communities to come together to be able to create a new type of safety net, one that isn't mandated from the top, but is grown up from the grassroots. And that's what Right to Dream 2 has done. And I applaud you all for considering this model as a viable option to just having no model and for outlawing homelessness, houselessness. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. My name is Benjamin Barber, and I've come to give you what I think are good ideas and not complain or give anecdotes. If reducing houselessness is, the goal for everyone, I think that we also need to recognize that people need to have scaffolded supports as well as stability. And I believe that the city as well as the county has opportunities to help this along. Some of my experience has been with the local maker spaces and hacker spaces to teach skills to kids at Portland Public Schools, and I know that we'll be having some money for those schools. I believe that maybe some funding for capital in Benson High and increasing enrollment there may help individuals gain skills towards employment, and you can help amortize those costs by offering those services to people who are without homes and need to have those basic skills trained to them. Furthermore, I know that Bud Clark Commons was used to reduce houselessness, but my experience in Southeast Asia after the tsunami was that that is the most expensive way and least effective way of delivering stability to those people. I believe that we have some assets in the county and the city that can actually help. I'm aware that the Wapato County Jail has not been used for close to 10 years. I'm not sure what the current plans are for that, but perhaps that property can be used to provide stability for people who have medical or psychological issues that need to take time. Furthermore, I'm not sure if you ever heard of tiny houses. They're relatively cheap, and the only other property that I know that could accommodate a large number of houseless people perhaps is the now empty open reservoirs in October, and fill them with proper electrical, sewage, and tiny houses, and maybe sell them back to FEMA if they're not needed any longer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Chassie. Oh no, that's not right. That's a mentally ill man that was killed by the police in the Pearl District. My name is Charles Johnson, and you know that because I've spoken before you before. We have a lot of good things going on in Portland. I'm going to move over to the other microphone.
Yes, please. We're going to get rid of that thing.
To bring it, it's alive. I'll be back next week to make sure it's gone. We have a lot of good things going on in the Pearl and around the entire town. One of those things that's good in Portland is journalism. I'm partial to Mr. Thoreau over there, but we also have Wendy Culverwell. She brings us some good information too. And people who are here in this room should think about what they're doing, not just here, but when they go out and when they spend their dollars. They should talk to people who are involved with Hoyt Street Realty. And for people who don't have money to spend with Hoyt Street Realty, you might have time. If you're homeless, we're allowed to sleep on the curbs. You might sleep on the curb in front of a Hoyt Street property because they don't want you under the under the Broadway Bridge. You might think about Ziba Design in Great Close. They have a strong opinion. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to be here for all the testimony, but I don't know if they shared that. But I'm sure they think their opinions and ideas are very important. So we want to make sure that that gets mentioned. One thing that has not been mentioned and is underrepresented is PDC, Portland Development Commission. We know they have many other properties that could be put to community use designation. We know that we're not using the big overflow parking lot that sits right south of Bud Clark Commons next to the Greyhound station. And I hope that concerned developers will, who benefited from PDC real estate deals, will just back off, let R2D2 have this space, and then be more assertive at moving the PDC in a direction that gets more low-income housing in this very stressed rental market. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Any others?
That's all who signed up.
Okay. Thank you all. I think we have some further work by the city attorney to bring forward. Is that right?
Just one very minor thing.
There you go.
Okay. Just one minor thing to recommend to you. You received a memo dated October 2nd from Rebecca Esau. It addresses one section of the city code that Ms. White has challenged as lacking discussion in the zoning confirmation letter. My recommendation to you would be to amend the zoning confirmation letter to include Rebecca's discussion, beginning with the paragraphs below the heading additional information on page 1 and continuing through the end on page 2. And I would add that
Copies
link.
of that, Catherine?
Pardon me?
Do you have copies to hand out?
I have my one copy that I can give to the
We
council clerk.
can put one before the clerk for now.
Okay.
And then pick it up later.
And I would add it to section 2D of the zoning confirmation letter after the first paragraph on page 10.
Okay. Why don't we just leave that with the clerk for now, and obviously we'll be making that publicly available. Any other questions for staff? So let me reflect a little bit on this, what I believe has been an excellent public discussion. I know there's been a great deal of passionate concern here in this room today and tonight. I respect that, and I understand that there's passion and sometimes anger when it comes to issues like this. And I think you could perhaps listen to this discussion today and see only polarization and see only dissent. And of course there has been some. It would be Pollyannish to say there hasn't been some polarization and dissent. But I also hear some things that I think represent progress and opportunity. And I want to talk about both of those. One, again, some people told parts of the story here. I wasn't here for some